Hi, Austin. Welcome back.
Hey Lauren, how are you?
I'm good. How are you today?
You know what, I'm having a better week mentally, but kind of feeling kind of in the dumps physically. I don't know if I've talked to you kind of about my life, and um I know that I mentioned that I haven't been at work for 3 years, but there's reasons why I'm not working and now kind of transitioning life into this master's program that we're taking. But
Mhm.
essentially, I grew up with some bad spinal problems, and I had grown like I think it was like 6 to 7 inches within 1 year. It was like a crazy amount where my body did something wild, and because I got tested, I think it was in eighth grade going into ninth grade. They check you for scoliosis. I
Yeah.
remember they check your back, right? And then that year, from freshman year to sophomore year, I grew like 7 inches, and and I got a bunch of scoliosis. So I had scoliosis and a little bit of kyphosis, and so my spine looked kind of like an S. It was like I had three curves, and they're all like 24, 25-degree curves.
Whoa.
Um, yeah, and it was kind of a lot to like deal with at that age because it prevented me from doing a lot of things. Like the doctor was like, "Hey, we're gonna put you in this giant cast," and I had to wear this thing that was like completely wrapped around like my whole body, and had
Mhm.
like a metal bar that went up and pushed my back forward, and like had all these straps that you had a Velcro, and it was like I looked like a robot, and I could wear it underneath my clothes, but it was noticeable. But also, like at the same time, I grew up in Palm Springs, so it was like 120 degrees out. So like
Oh, yeah.
wearing that was out of the picture. Um, so I only wore it to sleep, and I didn't. The doctor was like, "You only have a little bit more to grow," and they try and do these things so it like pushes your spine as you continue to grow back into the right place.
Yeah.
So they're like, "We don't know if this is going to work a lot, blah 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 blah," but you're not allowed to do any contact sports, and so like, don't you can't play football or play hockey or anything you want to. So I jumped into water sports, and that kind of led my life going down swimming and water polo and following in the footsteps of my brother. But like growing up, that caused a lot of complications for me physically. Like they're like, hey, like this is only going to kind of get worse for you. And so when after college, and I was in like my 20s, was during that time where I was drinking a lot, partying, like completely ignoring any of my emotions, and like not knowing why I was drinking so much either. I was clueless. I didn't even think like I knew deep down kind of like I had an issue, and I didn't like I probably shouldn't be drinking every night, even though it was like, hey, I'm gonna have a couple beers or a beer or two when I get off work,
Mhm.
like it was the pattern that was there. But like I kind of jumped into a really rough time after college, is what I'm trying to say. And so I had back problems. I went to college, and then my body, I played water polo in college for the first year, and then I stopped. But my body kind of, your metabolism slows down. You start gaining weight. Like I'm not like my chipper, healthy college, shredded physique like I was growing up because I was always in shape. I was always in shape. I was the guy that like constantly had a shirt off because I was very in shape. And so I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. That was a big thing, right? And a big part of that running away from those emotions was not having to think about anything, that made me feel comfortable.
Mhm.
So I just jumped into the first job that I could find, and that was like I did valet, and I got a manager position really quick offered to me, jumped into that. And then one of my best friends who I was living with at the time in San Diego was like, hey, he was doing a startup company. It's my best friend that I've known since high school. I was living with a couple of my guys out there after college, and he invited me to go jump into his lab, and I worked in a dental lab. So it was like a big jump. He was like promised me all these things and was like, look, you can do sales and all this other stuff. And so I ended up working in this lab, and it ended up turning into be a pretty crummy scenario.
Mhm.
But what happened is that I did a lot of work doing dental technician work. So I was working and like looking down. And at this time, drinking was really heavy. right? I did not enjoy my work. Like, I can explain more maybe in another session, kind of like how bad that was for me. But like, physically, this is where everything kind of caught up to me. I gained a lot of weight, and um, my back problems got like exponentially harder. And so what happened is I ended up actually getting a referral to go get an MRI, and I haven't got one in a long time. I was having problems where like I couldn't feel my right arm was numb for like 7 months, like just pins and needles.
Wow.
And I was in pain to the point where like every day, like I would like to get to Friday was like a challenge.
Mhm.
And so it was one of those things where the work environment was very toxic. My boss, who was my best friend, who I knew is kind of a dick sometimes, dude, and like it was a really high stress situation doing a startup company. Not to defend him by any means, but it was. But the job situation was terrible, and so I ended up drinking a lot more. You know, smoking cigarettes at the time, um, and a lot of these problems kind of compiled on each other, and my pain was like through the roof. And then I finally got this MRI, and then the MRI was like, they sent me to see a specialist, a spinal surgeon in San Diego, and they're like, "Oh, look, hey, look, you actually have severe spinal stenosis in your neck area, your cervical, well, my cervical spine." And the doctor was like, you're gonna have to get surgery on this. Like, either we do that like now, or it's gonna have to happen in the future. But like, it all depends on like how much pain you're in, you know.
Mhm.
He's like, but you got to stop working like right now. And so I stopped. That was almost 3 years ago. It'll be 3 years ago in November. Um, and that's what kind of gave me the opportunity to quit my job and go on disability, and kind of started off this whole process of like self-awareness and kind of where I'm at these days. Like I think it was kind of like a God thing, you know, because it happened 2 months before my dad died too, as well. And so all those things kind of happened at once. Like I lost my job, I quit my job, I was in extraordinary amount of pain.
Yeah.
I was the unhealthiest I've ever been. I weighed 294 pounds. Now I weigh 235. So I've lost like, you know, a significant amount, like over 50 pounds. Um, but it was kind of like the me hitting rock bottom, right? And like my life and trying to control me not taking any responsibility for any of my actions and just drinking and kind of like just being comfortable with whatever, right? Because like all I cared about was like escaping from these things and not like helping myself out of that situation.
Yeah.
So so it took me a lot to get to that rock bottom position where I felt like, okay, you know, even I had to go to the doctor, didn't want to, waited for a really long time, suffering and pain,
Mm.
suffering through this terrible job, suffering working. I was stuck working here because it was in the middle of COVID, right?
Yeah.
I was looking for jobs before COVID to get out of it, and then COVID hit, and we were an essential workers, right? So I never stopped going to work.
Mhm.
I never had a COVID where like I stayed home. I was every single day. I was driving on the freeway in San Diego, and like literally no one was on the road. It was really weird, actually. Scenario like for a while there was like no one out there, so it was kind of awesome. Like living in a world that was like it was almost like the end times, but I was just like there was a couple of us alive. You know, it was kind
Mhm.
of strange. Um, but I was stuck, you know, in life, and like I feel like I made the decision to finally go to the doctor, and then everyone was like, "Austin, go on disability." The doctor says you're just gonna, if I continue to do what I'm doing and looking down, I'm gonna get permanent nerve damage in my neck,
Mhm.
and like they can't fix that, right? So I made that decision, and that was kind of like the hardest thing for me to do because like I was working every day to make sure that we could like afford to like, you know, I have a kid at this point, or was right about to have a kid. My wife was pregnant at this time.
Yeah.
Um, and to afford bills in San Diego and to afford everything, I was stuck because I was working like 10, 12 hour days just to make enough money to keep going, and I was like trapped in this cycle. So I finally got out, and that kind of led me to where I'm at today. But like it took a lot of self awareness for me to kind of start unraveling a lot of these things. So like last week I was telling you about where I'm at emotionally. So like physically, like I avoided going to surgery,
Mm-hmm.
and I was a week away from it. And this was going to be a disc replacement. So they were going to take out discs out of my neck and replace it with artificial ones.
Mm-hmm.
And I said no to that because my surgeon was like, "You're one of the youngest people that I've done this to, you know?" And usually he didn't seem very confident.
Yeah.
Like he was like, maybe we should wait, like kind of thing. And I'm like, okay, like let's just wait then. But it was a hard decision to make. And like I've had to kind of live with that pain ever since. And God's really blessed me in ways where like I don't know how, like I can't even comprehend the pain that it was to where it is now. It doesn't make sense. Like it doesn't make sense to me. Like I know I've lost weight. I know I've changed a lot of things mentally. I've been sleeping way more. Like at those hours, I was sleeping like 4 hours a night back then.
Yeah.
Like had permanent dark circles on my eyes, weighed 50 pounds more, was working all these hours in a very high stress situation, eating terribly. And so I feel like God's giving me the opportunity to kind of fix all these things. Like I'm eating healthier, I'm sleeping, I'm doing all these things, and a part of this I was going through therapy, seeing a therapist, um, and dealing with like the grief of losing my dad, who I was really close with. And God kind of pointed me into therapy. I quit drinking, I quit smoking. I I quit drinking technically 7 years, and it's been 7 years already. 7 years in October is when I quit. But this is what kind of led me to where I'm at now. To give you just a little more history of where I've been at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's good that you've been able to stop. I think it was time for you to stop. I
Yeah.
think you're very good at being a jack of all trades and being dealt all these different hands that you're like, I can work through this. I can do this. I can make this work. And I
Yeah.
think there was mentally, physically, emotionally, your body was like, hey, we need a
Yeah.
break.
Yeah.
I think this time to stop is eye opening, but it's also you realize that you've been able to stop drinking, you've been able to stop smoking, you've lost weight, are all achievements that only you could have done.
Yeah.
Nobody else told you to do that. So this
Yeah.
break, although might not be where you want to be, you're still achieving huge things that you did for you.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's weird that because it took me, I struggle with it now because I'm like, why did I wait so long to like why did I have to wait till things got so bad
Yeah.
to bring it full circle? What I was telling you about, what we were talking about earlier. And it's like I had to wait so long till things got so bad, and I wasted kind not wait, I wasted time. I wasted my 20s. Like I'm once was told, someone was talking about it, he's like you plant the seeds in your 20s that blossom in your 30s, and you plant the seeds in your 30s that blossom in your 40s. And so like I've been living in this scenario where like I'm now doing something that I feel called to, but very, very unprepared for. Like I like negatively prepared for. Like in being a therapist, but therapy has been like so big in my life, and like I feel like God was clear with like, hey, this is what I want for you. And I also have a passion to like help people that have also struggled with addiction, and like um that also are guys that have lived their whole lives under a stigma of talking about our feelings is not masculine, because that's what I was told. That's what I grew up in. My friends, you know what I mean, they'd be like, you know they would I would get punched and called names if I talked about my feelings, right? It wasn't something we did until I realized I wasn't even processing any of my feelings until I was in my 30s, you know So now I'm dealing with the consequences and kind of like starting off where I'm like, I'm emotionally stunted. Like I'm a 20-year old now, right? I have an emotional capacity of a 20-year old because I just numbed myself for 10 years.
Yeah.
Um, and now I'm kind of dealing with the consequences of those things and the consequences of having a, I can talk more later about it on another session, but like my last two jobs were just terrible, like work environments, like kind of crazy bad luck that I worked for such terrible people. But it really, really took a toll on my self-worth and confidence.
Yeah.
And so on top of like all of these things, I've been working really hard to try and climb out of this hole that I've put myself in, you
Mhm.
know? And um like last week I got emotional because it's like I feel almost like a self-awareness overload. That's what I told the class the other night. She was like, "Hey, what feeling do you guys feel at the beginning of class?" And I was like, "Self-awareness overload." And then of course she's like, "Can anyone want to explain what their feelings?" And then she calls on me, Dr. Williams. Dr. R, you can get mad at her. Yeah, she called on me. She's like, "Austin, you really got to explain this to me." And I was like, blah, 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 blah. And I went through like just fumbling with my words. But like, I keep learning more about myself and I keep peeling back the layers in this process of like developing my own, like how we're developing our own identities as, as counselors. And like, um, I'm not super soft on myself either. And I feel like I'm trying to make up that time that I've lost.
Mhm.
Um, Even though I feel like God's promising me right now, like his promise to me is like, "Hey, I'm going to redeem that time for you," and I feel like he's made that clear to me. And he's like, "Look, just jump on this road and we'll work it out later." And I feel confident that's what he says to me. And I've kind of just been trusting that process. But along the way, it's just been really heavy and hard. And it's emotionally taxing to look at these emotions and feel these emotions and process emotions when I've been hiding from them my whole life, you know?
Yeah. Do you not feel like you've done enough work?
I feel like I never give myself credit.
Mhm.
Like I don't think I ever think I've done enough work.
Yeah.
I don't I don't know. It's weird. I don't think like that. I'm always like, nope, you need to do this. Nope, you need to do this. Nope, you're behind, so you need to do this. And so that inner critic, beats me up a lot. And it's something I'm still trying to get, used to.
Yeah. But I think that the inner critic that you have, it helps push you, but it also helps makes you feel frustrated and overwhelmed.
Yeah.
But the fact that you see it, and like you say that you lost the time in your 20s, but if you see how you were in your 20s to where you are now, you've grown exponentially.
Crazy amount. Yeah.
So you didn't, you may feel like you lost something, but you've grown so much in areas that you never
Yeah.
thought you would have.
Yeah.
That's a huge way to view it too.
Yeah.
So you didn't miss anything in your 20s. You learned, and
Yeah.
now you're planting seeds for your 40s that you wanted to do.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right. At the same time, it's so hard because I beat myself up though, like just walking around my neighborhood and I'm like, I do this thing where I'm like lusting over other people's houses. And I'm like, we live in a two-bedroom apartment. Like, do we have no income right now? And we're like still making it work. But like, and it's like I'm like, I want to give that to my family, like I want to be providing for them in ways. But like the realistic, the most realistic part is that like, and I got to remind myself of this is that like I am providing him the best thing that they could have by working on myself the way I have. Like changing me is and working on the things that I have to be emotionally available for my wife and for my kids is way providing way more for them than like me getting a house or like working some job that like got me a lot of money.
Yeah, it's about
And I
being
think
present.
yeah, I think you're just pointing me in that same direction. And like that's where like I'm realizing you're saying this. verbally processing it right now as you're saying it, so I appreciate you.
Yeah, that's you should appreciate how far you've come.
Yeah.
How would it look for you if you didn't have that inner critic?
I don't know. It's interesting. Like it's like I feel like I possibly would look. I think I trust myself more,
Mhm.
but at the same time, I feel like a part of that critic's like responsibility is to push me, and it's almost like that balancing act, right? Like integration, I suck at. Like if you look at it on my little T-Prat model, it's like I'm terrible at balancing those two things, right? So like, um, I like to say I'd be better off, but at the same time, would I be as motivated or at least as aware of these things? I don't know. It's a good question. Something I'll have to think about further.
Yeah,
It's a really good question.
we can work on that with the next session too.
Yeah, I
Some
appreciate it.
homework for you till we get to our next session would be when you hear that inner critic, write down what you hear in your head. And then on the other half, maybe like a T chart almost, is that everything that you're grateful for that you have in this moment.
Yeah,
Instead of thinking in the future, you're right, you stay in the present and
yeah.
remind yourself what you have.
Okay.
That
Yeah.
sound
I'm
good?
glad you didn't say, yeah, I'm glad you didn't say like every time you think of the critic, like punch yourself in the face or something. Like I was like, like I was waiting for it. I don't know. Yeah. No, that's great. Yeah, that's a great idea. And I'll do that. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Martinez. Appreciate you.
Yeah, no problem, Austin. We'll see you next week.
See you next week.
Bye. All right.
Yeah, I feel like I was rambling there to give you all the facts, but I felt like it was important to give you more information. So like the next sessions would be easier to kind of like understand me better.
Yeah.
I don't know. Or was that just verbal diarrhea?
No, that was good. I feel like that helped make it like cohesive.
Yeah. I felt like you threw your punches really well.
This time, yeah, I tried not to. I tried to remember what you said the last time, where I was like, "Let me not answer it. Let me try and like keep it
No,
there."
you make really good, like you made some crazy good points and you're like owning on the focus. But yeah, it was almost like you were trying a little too hard, but like this time it felt very natural and very um you let me stay in my flow,
Yeah.
because I feel like even I make the mistake when I'm doing it with Glenn, where I'm like, feeling like I got to get those check boxes in, like we got to say the right things,
Yes.
but it takes away from Gwen being able to talk, and it like takes her out of her feelings, to be in her head, to get answer the question. So I think you did a great job of that. I mean, I felt super understood. Where's these questions? Identify two areas of strength in the session. Um, what responses helped you feel understood? You literally were. I like that you reframed for me to look at it because I was just talking after that, and even then being
Mm.
like reframing. You reframed it for me. You set me up for me to reframe myself. Almost it was kind of crazy. Where it was just like who gives a shit about the houses that I'm thinking about? And I'm having this thought right now. It's actually really funny because you're saying that. And I'm like, the best thing I could do for my family would be for me to work on myself. And I'm doing that. And I should be proud of that. So that was huge. That was massive positive impact right there. Um, your responses were super facilitative because you continued me in my thought, which led me to my next thought. I felt it was seamless. Like I feel like every week everyone's just getting better at this. Or
Yeah.
at least you are for sure. Like I'd be like I'll be on the end of where I'm the client. Like I can for sure say that. Like every week I'm feeling like it's getting more ironed out, and you're using your skills really, really well. Um, what were some responses that were not accurate? Dude, I didn't really feel anything. I didn't feel like you broke the connection, and I did not feel like anything was non-facilitative. Like I felt like it was really smooth, and you set me up with those questions really well. I like the question too, where you were like, if like almost playing the devil's advocate, like we're like, what if you didn't have that, inner critic? And I'm like, that kind of makes me think a little bit, like automatically you should be like, yeah, I'd probably be better off if I didn't have someone beating me up on the inside. But then again, like what role does that person's, play? And does that person try to like anxiety inherently is to protect you, right?
Mhm.
Like it's your body's protection. It's like your body's alarm system.
Yeah.
So like, does my inner critic kind of play a similar role? You know, I don't know. Does like anyone's inner critic play? Yeah, right. I don't
But
know
then it's like you can have too much anxiety.
for
Like
sure.
sometimes it's not good. But then like
Yeah,
your inner critic could also be like, well, I want that. How can I get to that?
yeah,
So like I feel like the inner critic's good, but it just like there's a balance to it.
hmm yeah. You're
Maybe
great, Lauren.
maybe if the question was like, what if your inner critic wasn't so loud? Might have been better
Yeah,
instead of if it was gone completely. Because like when you say it like that, like when I said it and I was thinking about it, I was like, well, hold up. Like I kind of need my inner critic to get me to do something.
for sure. Yes, yeah, yes and no though. Like, because that's like I love big philosophical questions like that. I'm like all about it, dude.
Yeah.
Like I was getting into the other night with my friend, giving an example, but like, yeah, no. So like, it was either or. I think if it was someone else that maybe wouldn't be down for that mental challenge or wrestling match of being like, what if I didn't have this at all? And because I like to think like that, it probably would have been better than to say like wouldn't be so loud. I
Yeah.
think the second version
Yeah.
probably for other people. Yeah, for me, I like the first one to be honest with
Yeah.
you.
Okay.
Yeah, but you're awesome. Seriously, thank you, Lauren.
Yeah, no, I think we
Really,
both did.
truly,
Huh?
it's great. You're great at this, dude.
Thank
I'm
you so
serious.
much.
Yeah,
I'm excited. This is this is a lot better than last week's. Last week's I had the little boxes up where I was like, how can I paraphrase? I was like, this time I was like, we're winging it. I'm not following it.
I
I
know.
I feel like
That's what I feel like turned me up too.
you have to ask questions. I don't like how they're not letting us ask questions because you can't just keep reflecting where it's just like, yeah, you're feeling this. And it's like, okay, yeah, I know I told you that. So like
Yeah. I
it
think
feels
it's
like,
hard asking the right questions though. You know what I mean? Because
yeah,
like you're not supposed to ask why questions. You're not supposed to ask like that's why I was trying to like I pulled up that question sheet and was like, was that from last week? Because aren't we supposed to ask questions though today? Or
you
no?
can. You can.
Yeah. I don't know. The question I'm always scared of saying the wrong thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I feel like I do a little bit of advice giving and I'm trying not to. I think the last week I gave too much advice. And then this week I don't think I did. I think I did, yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm trying not to.
Yeah.
Or like I'm
I
trying
don't
not to
think yeah,
say
I
it
can't
where it
remember.
sounds like an answer.
Yeah, like where it sounds directive. I know. Because like I'm like, how do you phrase questions and stay neutral? It's hard to do that in the moment, you know? Like I don't want to lead someone a certain way. Like I
Yeah.
have to be careful that I'm not leading them in a certain way because of the way that I feel.
Yeah.
Because the way I feel is irrelevant. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's so that's so scary to me in this whole process.
It's
Like
good.
it's yeah, it
Yeah.
scares me. It scares me. I don't know. I feel like I'm like I don't want to my negativity to run off like the way that I think to run off on
You
someone.
save your film? Did you save it?
I'm
Yeah.
just gonna stop it.
Oh, hold up. We're still my bad.